Welcome to a Tuesday edition of the Paranormal Voice. Of course, I am your host, Dale, and I'm glad you're all being here. And also, too, we are so glad that our guest from Sunday is here with us. I was just talking with her backstage. Hey, what's up? I can't see. Let me just bring this up so I can see who it is. What's up, big Bree guy, 87? Thank you for joining us. Yes, no, I mean, Sunday was a very crazy day, and I'm so glad that my guest has got through the storm and is here safe with us today in much better spirits. But thank you guys for so much for joining us here tonight. I am so happy to be back with the Paranormal Voice. So many great things that are happening us, great shows coming your way. So if you're not a subscriber, please hit like and subscribe, share this video out. We would love to get as many people on their eyes of the TPV Nation as we are on the march to 1,000 subscribers on our YouTube channel. So it'd be very, very grateful if you guys could help us out in that big manner. But I do not want to waste very much time because I'm so excited to get this lady out here. I just recently found her on Facebook, and I was reading everything about her, and I was like, so interesting with her background and what she is doing with the paranormal. And that's what we're all about. We're bringing people who are innovating and taking the paranormal to the next level. So I'm just going to say she is a doctor. Dr. Harley Black holds a PhD in parapsychology and a master's degree in metaphysics from the Institute of Metaphysical and Humanistic Science, and as a residential investigator and a historical guide at several Midwest's most haunted hotels, which is interesting. Can't wait to hear more about that. She combines her epidemic academic, sorry guys, rigors with intuitive insights and preserve historic sites and sheds light on the paranormal phenomenon. And I cannot be more excited to dig down into picking her brain and see where this is all going. So right now, welcome my guest, Dr. Harley Black. How are you doing?
Hi, good. Salutations. I'm so happy that I could be here today.
So are we. I am so excited. And like I said, I always get those people you might know kind of things, and I always look in, and when I saw you, I was like, an actual doctor in the paranormal. Now this is I mean, we do have a lot of people who are very educated, but I love the way that you are taking your passion for this to a whole new level. I love that.
So essentially, the paranormal world is just pseudoscience. We cannot replicate or document with scientific data in repetition in a controlled setting. I'm wanting to turn pseudoscience into science, and I think that I have a profound and revolutionary way to do that. And that's simply building spirit relationships. They're people. It's just like you and I. We build a relationship, you put in effort. There's no difference from the dead.
Yeah, no, and I truly agree with that. We're going to dive into that in just a few minutes, but I would like to go back a little bit further to find out where this whole paranormal started in your life and where to get to where you are today. Like, what was your very first introduction into the paranormal? I guess.
So my mom died when I was 7, and when I was 8, she a full-bodied apparition sitting on my bed, and I froze, and then she just kind of just dissipated. And then after, like, just kind of like snapping back to reality, I've had like just sincere regret for just not saying something.
Okay.
And it has just been my life mission to just not ever freeze again and to get the answers. Like, what
You,
happens?
and I can kind of relate to you on that because my very first paranormal experience was a family member as well. And yeah, when it first happened, like you I guess you really can't comprehend on what you're actually seeing. But I mean, my experience, my apparition was like as real as you and I sitting here talking today. Like I remember like everything about them and the way they looked. They weren't transparent. They weren't anything, and they were full. Like they were full, head to toe. Saw the feet, everything. Um, and at first when it happened, it was like I just like somebody come to visit me and not cluing in. Like, oh, wait a minute, I'm going to their funeral tomorrow. Like, what's going on here? But that is, yeah, you kind of just it's our mind trying to comprehend on what actually we're seeing and living at that moment. Um, and I mean that's where it started with me. I was 8, and it's been happening ever since. And as my life has progressed and certain events in my life has happened, um, it seems to get stronger my abilities to communicate and everything with the other side.
I
So
agree.
when you
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, I was gonna say, so it was that the only time that she's come to visit you? Like she's never been back since?
No, she has not ever been back since. I've never tried to reach out in any form of communication that of like devices that we have available. I've never reached out. Um, I just kind of feel like if she wants to show back up again, she will, and I'll be ready.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and we'll talk about this for sure down the show on how the other side, the energies, ghosts, they don't work on demand. Like you can't just say, "Well, come and show yourself to me right now," and they appear. As fun as that would be, especially during our investigations. How much easier it would be to do what we do and what we love doing, and to get the answers we need to get. Um, so when did you decide to get your PhD and everything? Like, was this your thought in mind when you were thinking about going to school and getting your master's degree and everything?
It wasn't. It was, I just saw that there was a school out there that was just specifically for the paranormal and for pseudoscience. And I believe it was established in like the mid 2000s. And
Okay.
I just jumped at it head first. And it's funny because a lot of my tuition was reimbursed because I had to teach their professors on different equipment as far as like the SB7 and stuff, and like how like we now look at it as far as how spirits are able to communicate through those radio waves and with the kilohertz of what they're receiving. Um, and it's not just them altering spoken voices that are already being played on the radio is kind of what their tuition or their what they were teaching initially. So
Okay.
there was a lot of behind the scenes teaching going on.
Yeah, I guess that's always the interesting part. So we were talking a little bit backstage, and you were talking about spirit relationship development. Now,
Correct.
can you? I am so interested in what that means and how other investigators can use it, or kind of use that into what we're doing nowadays. So, if you can explain what you mean by spirit relationship development, I mean, because you know, I've never heard that term before, but I'm excited about it because, and I'll tell you why after you're done explaining.
So I am my investigation style is completely unorthodox. Most people that investigate me with me think I'm crazy, but I will say I get phenomenal results. The methodology behind it is okay. So for instance, so most people that go to investigate a location, it's typically a 24 hours that they're there, maybe a little less. You know, you show up at 3, you have dinner, you talk with all your your team members, then you make your plan, get your equipment ready. Before you know it, you're not even investigating till midnight. Then you're only investigating till like 3, 4 in the morning, and then you're checking out at 11, and then you're gone and on to the next place. So you got like
Right.
maybe 4 hours of solid investigating there. I'm there for at least 72 hours minimum at every
Okay.
location. And I go back to the same locations over and over and over. So much so that some of the locations that I go to, like as soon as I show up, like I get the chills and like my cameras and all of my equipment will malfunction. I have to leave my batteries out in my truck because I know that they're just going to get drained as soon as I walk in the door. It is just that familiarity. Like time isn't what it is here, and I
Right.
don't know what their time is. I don't know how that is like in parallel to ours in any way, but they recognize us just like you'd recognize an old friend walking down the street. And they know that, I have the ability to talk to them. So they are just in my face and just ready to rock as soon as I walk in.
And that's the interesting part. And I mean, talking to investigators over the years, especially people that will go back to the same place over and over and over again. And the relationships you do build with these energies, these spirits, is really phenomenal. I mean, because when you go there, like you said, you're building a relationship, your friendship with them, so they're comfortable with you. They know what you're about. They feel comfortable with helping you to answer whatever questions you are asking compared to the notes you're trying to receive at that time. And I know there's several locations in this area uh, that I've gone to. I started um investigating over 10 years ago, and we've always gone back to the same place. It's called Heritage Village here. But when you go into some of the locations, it's like, yeah, they respond automatically. It's just like greeting an old friend again, and I've always found that where you can actually to a point where they can actually say your name. Now, I've never asked them to repeat my name because I don't know, I'm still not ready for that. I will ask them to repeat other things, but not my name. And I don't know why, but I mean, I know investigators, as soon as they walk in, they'll turn on the spirit box and they'll say, "Hi, George." And I guess it would be amazing, but to me, I would be a little bit freaked out if they start saying my name. Like,
I
I'll
have
usually get
had
them
them
to
a
say
say,
something.
sorry,
Sorry, go
I think
go
we have a
ahead.
delay. No, I've had them say my name a couple of times, but never on like a repeated basis. Um,
Okay.
I think when we're the entertainment, and instead of putting the spirits as like the circus clowns, like, oh, knock on the wall. Can you
Right.
do this? Can you do that? Like, think about this. If you're there for an eternity and you hear the same knock on the wall, are you there? Is this place haunted? Can you hear me? I'm going to punch somebody in the face. I swear, if they come into my house and say that every single damn day, you better come in with something new. So,
Right.
my idea was I actually have coins from World War II from other countries that are from brothels that are good
Okay.
for either a drink or a lady. And the Thayer
Interesting.
House, yeah, the Thayer House in Annandale was actually a brothel that Al Capone even visited and rented out the third floor. So I brought the coins in there and like, here you are. Here's a coin. I used the owner as the lady, and you can have your way with her. And the SLS footage on that, I would say if she wasn't clothed, it would have been triple X.
Oh, well, I mean that trigger objects.
Yeah.
I mean there I have seen a lot of response of using trigger objects or other scenarios, and I'll ask you about those in a minute and what your thought, on those is. But I find if you bring in period time, artifacts that they would be familiar with, you're going to get a pretty interesting interaction with them. You know,
Absolutely.
because you know a lot of people that are coming into the paranormal field, it's like, well, come and to my recorder. Well, do you not realize they don't know what a recorder is? I mean, they've never seen one. Yeah, they had recording devices back then, but they were big reel to reel things. People weren't carrying them around and going, here, talk into this. And I have to explain, you have to find terminologies or talk to them and say, hey, can you come closer to talk to me? You don't even have to tell them you have to talk into a recorder. Just come and talk to me because it's automatic if they're talking to you. Obviously, the recorder's going to pick it up anyways. But trying to teach people that you have to watch what you say because you got to understand if depending on the era you're trying to talk to somebody in, you have to figure out what the lingo was back then and to get a response. To say come and talk to a recorder, they'll be like, well, what's a recorder? So trigger objects are very good to use in any investigation. Uh, what are your thoughts on like role playing with when you're in an establishment? And I'll tell you why after, and I'll tell you some of the results that we had out of it. Like, you go in, you're going into say, an old haunted brothel, like you would dress up in like the clothes the ladies would, so the ghosts or the spirits would interact with you. What is your thought on that? And have you ever used that kind of method during any of your investigations?
I think it's fantastic to address the time period just so that you are more comfortable appealing to, the spirits. You're not so scary as far as like a woman wearing jeans in like 1900. That would never ever happen,
Right.
or being, I guess, the dominant one over a team, where I'm demanding these men do whatever I say. I'm sure it looks a little kooky to these guys. But I do go in like a full ball gown, like beaded, very flapper style. Um, I have also gone on the more risque things as well, depending on where I'm at. But definitely brothels. I'm always the one that gets in the bed just because, well, I'm the leader. I suppose I should have to.
Um, the reason why I said that, we went and did an investigation at OSR, Ohio State Reformatory, a couple of years ago now. And one of the investigators that with me was a former corrections officer. And he brought some of his gear with him. And we even did this whole scenario where we put him in handcuffs. We let him down through, and it was like through the solitary confinement area. And he put on this whole act like he was being arrested. He was, saying what criminals would say. And the interaction we had on the spirit box was the most craziest thing we've ever heard. Like, w- he was getting threats, like they were saying, "We're going to kill you, f you," and it was like it was just the whole scenario because he was playing the part. Like, he actually got the energies in all these cells to act up at the same time. And it was one of the investigators goes, "Well, how many are there?" And it said 20. And of course, my mind's going, "Oh God, we are going to get bombarded by 20 energies." I'm freaking out. But the interaction and the whole experience was truly amazing because I've never done anything like that before. And now I'm more apt to use that kind of method to say, let's play along. Like, if we're in an old like speakeasy bar, like, play the type of music they would have been back then. Like, bring some top hats, sit at the games, put a cigar in your mouth, play some cards, and you'll see what you're going to get. Because then they feel like, oh yeah, okay, they're here to play cards. Let's play cards. So I love those scenarios when you put yourself in them to get the kind of reaction you're looking for so you can kind of understand more of who is haunting the place, if
I've
that makes any
definitely
sense.
played poker. No, it does. I've played poker with different spirits at numerous different locations, and I've had phenomenal results. Now, I do firmly believe that they are cheaters because we can't see them, because I've lost every time. But nevertheless, we've gotten some really, really great evidence.
So I'm going to ask you, so far to date, what would be your most memorable experience that you've had?
That would be at the Suites Hotel in Leroy, Minnesota. It's like just a stone's throw from the Iowa border. It is like just out in the middle of nowhere. I think the population is maybe 500 people. Nobody's ever even heard of this place. And so I had had the Boo Bear, it's the EMF detector that you touch it and it'll
Yep.
alarm different colors, all that. Now, this thing could be in an earthquake. It will not set off whatsoever. You have to actually physically touch this bear. And I've had it for years now, and it never once alarmed until I brought it there. And then after it alarmed, we end up playing like a race game with the kid spirits where they would high five me, run to the middle of the hallway, hit the EMF detector, run to the farthest part of the hallway, turn on a flashlight, run back, hit the EMF detector, and then give me a high five, and I would count. And so they were racing. And that went
Wow.
on for about 15 minutes. And so for somebody to say that it cannot be like replicated in a controlled setting, that is so far false. But now can I get that exact same EMF level, like digitally, like, was it like 0.02 or whatever, like 1.1 milligauss? No, I cannot recreate that exact same digital reading. And that is why it is pseudoscience, is because I can't have them be like, okay, now make sure that you have it at this level when you touch it. Yeah,
Right.
that was amazing.
So when you say pseudoscience, a lot of people might not understand what that means. Could you just explain that a little bit?
Pseudoscience is just, it's science by definition of it is a myth. It cannot be replicated. It cannot, you cannot like read it out in data as the same reading time and time again in a controlled setting. So it is not recognized in the scientific community as valid.
That's a lot of digestion.
I know. No,
I-
it's frustrating, honestly, just because, you'll talk with like different engineers and electrical engineers and stuff like that, and they won't give you the time of day because of what you do for work. When I'm trying to create like new and like enhanced communication methods, and you're just kind of laughed out of their offices.
now, why do you what? Now, why do you think that is? Now, why? So, what I mean by that is, why do you think they're not taking you seriously enough to say, this is your field? You're just asking for them to help you out, like to either create a new gadget that would help you further. Is it? Do you think it's they're worried that?
I think it's the general American culture, to be honest. This is like total cancel culture type of topics right now. But the American culture as a whole doesn't believe in the afterlife, or if they do, um, everything's behind closed doors. It's all secretive, right? Nobody like goes out and talks about this during coffee with, grandma or their auntie. It's all like, that's
Right.
just like how I think it is. And so when somebody like me walks in the door and like, hey, I have this great idea for this invention. Can you guys help me out and design this? Or like, yeah, no, that's a, it's too big of a liability.
But you see, and I guess this is where it still stumps me. And here we are, new millenniums, technology so far advanced. Like we're talking about alien aircrafts half the time, which are supposed to be these phenomenal state of the art electronics things that can do anything. Like they can go from one dimension to another dimension, but yet scientists are not willing to work with anybody to try to further get into this field. I just want to see if you can get your thoughts on this question. An amateur investigator, what are your thoughts on apps such as ghost tubes? Now, I think they're probably talking about the apps that you can download on your
On your
smartphones or your
phone.
tablets or whatever that is.
Absolutely.
What would be your take on these apps?
I will tell you my take on these apps. So I was, and I will not name the hotel just because they kind of put a gag order on you when you check in there. But this famous hotel that does ghost tours use the those ghost apps or ghost tube or whatever, and used the recordings on it like kind of like a spirit box, as that was legitimate spirit communication. Mind you, me being me, I brought all of my actual equipment, and there was not one reading. Nothing was coming through on the SB7, but her phone was just lighting up like crazy and saying all this weird stuff. So I told her to shut off her phone on the airplane mode, and she does. And then not a peep comes through her app. I don't know why. Because there's no more internet connection to get that app to say what it's supposed to say by the designers who designed it. They are such crocks of garbage that people created for entertainment. Now, are they fun on a like spooky, fakey, haunted Halloween hayride? Absolutely. But if you are a legitimate investigator, don't spend your darn money on those. They are just, yeah, I'm not even going to get angry. I'm going to be a lady right now, but they're crap. Don't do it. Buy a
And
ghost
that's
box.
that has actually been a hot topic, and I've been on quite a few panels and been at many conventions where we would sit down afterwards with some of the, as they call them, the para celebrities to get their intake. I mean, because they're on all these shows, they've got all this big fancy equipment, and then somebody comes along and uses an app on their phone. And yeah, I mean, cell phones, the apps that are developed are not truly made to run off of anything but a cellular airwave. Like that's
Correct.
how they're basically produced. And I mean, there's a reason why when I go on investigations, like everybody has to either shut your phone off totally or put it on airplane mode because cell phones can interact with a lot of the equipments, like your K2 meters and stuff like that, because there is signals getting into your phone which are coming across your meters. So you're getting a false reading.
Now, have you ever used a Faraday cage for any of your meters or your K2 or anything just to block out the walkie-talkies and stuff like that?
I have not. I am looking to inquire one, but I do have some very close friends that do use them on a very regular basis to do experiment with because of the frequencies that are around. And I mean, even with like depending on the location you're at, like a lot of these places have Wi-Fi signals in them now, which can play around with your equipment as well. Uh,
Absolutely. And as far as Waverly Hills telling you to put your phone on airplane mode even while using the app, absolutely they would. I fully support that because not only are you going to get the false readings from the app, but then your cell phone would then also mess up the fellow investigators' readings when they're using their personal equipment. So I could definitely see why they would do that. Even walkie-talkies. Walkie-talkies are the best form of fakey evidence because you
yeah.
just click that button and the K2 just lights up like a Christmas tree. And you can go on any of my social media and there's complete fakey investigations on there because I'm just making fun of myself and what I do.
But
Yeah,
these
walkie
are,
talkies.
but if you're going to be serious about being an investigator, my number one pet peeve in this industry is people get all these gadgets and don't have a single clue on how any of these things or the purpose of it and how it actually works. I tell people you have to do your research. Just because Zach Bagans uses a piece of equipment on the show, it doesn't mean that you have to run out and spend $2,000 of your money to use it because Zach Bagans does it. Zach Bagans also gets very well trained and works with some of the best tech guys in the industry on his show to know what this equipment's supposed to do. Where as average investigators, we don't know, and just watching 3 episodes of Ghost Adventures does not make you an expert. I'm sorry to break everybody's bubble.
I do like how he in his shows tries to explain the science behind a lot of the gadgets, and how they work, which is, I think, very, very considerate to his audience to give them a little bit more of an insight. But yeah, learn about what you're using before you just head out there and use it. I mean, Hasbro thought it'd be a great idea to make a Ouija board to sell at Target. So
And it's such a phenomenon. And look how many movies were produced because of that toy. So they are now asking, what do you think about orbs? Honestly, I'm a skeptical about orbs. I get them pretty frequently in footage. I know my take on orbs, and I wish people would stop sending me pictures, especially pictures when you're outside, because I can tell you a million different things of what that orb is, and it's not a ghost. I will tell you
you want to know what I do with orbs? I touch them. I will literally chase it down to touch it. Or I guess like I wouldn't say it's an orb. Have you ever seen the sparkles? And it is like glitter that just floats in the air. And this has happened numerous times over many different investigations. So
that.
what I have actually learned that high EMF levels and exposure to that, which we would be exposed to during investigating, it is actually like a psychological like reaction to being exposed to high EMF. Um, that you see the sparkles. That's what I guess the medical field is relating it to. And I think that has more to do with like electricians and like fuse boxes and where you're placed in your home. But if that's true and that's what the sparkles are, why would the sparkles give off an EMF reading when I go to touch them?
Right. My thought is I do believe orbs can be, some of them can be spirits. However, when you are outside in an old cemetery, there is a lot of dirt around you. There is a lot of bugs around you. This is when I tell people you really have to know how a camera works. You have to know how complicated a camera really is, or a video camera really works. The lenses are made to pick up everything. So what you're picking up and all these, like, you're surrounded by millions of orbs. No, that's called dust or mist droplets. So and people will send me pictures and they're really zoomed in. It's like, but it looks like a face. If you wanted to see a face inside of a dust orb, you will find a face inside of a dust orb. You will find a face in anything if you really want to believe it's there. But I have been in locations where I've got footage, and I would get an orb that would be passing through my lens, but it would also start changing color. So those ones I kind of lean more towards is okay, now there's real energy that is floating through the air because we've also gotten some kind of interaction on another piece of equipment, maybe the K2 meter going off, the RAM pod going off, or we would get a voice answering the question that we were have as this orb is going through the camera. But just to change color, I find like, a regular orb will not change color. It would just say a solid white for the most part.
Yeah, I don't mess around too much with orbs or photographs for that much. I need to be able to touch it, feel it. I'm the person that sees a black shadow in the corner and I'm running down the hallway to go touch it. I'm a
I
different
am
cookie.
I am the same way. I run towards things I don't. I appreciate that so much. I really glad you're finding our show to be as informative as we like it to be. But yeah, no, it's you can't take every single little thing, every little creak, every little uh, and another experiment we have done, and you probably experienced this too, is door shutting. So a lot of locations, people say, well, we were standing in this room, all of a sudden the door closed. Now, if it's an older location, especially a house, when you get enough weight in an area, the house actually shifts. So that door could actually close because there's too much weight or, something the floorboards are bouncy, so they're causing that to bounce. But once again, as in locations, you really got to understand how aging works on a building as well.
I bring a level.
Who would ever thought to bring a level on an investigation? Let's just see how level this
I
floor
I
really
will.
is.
I will. I do not care. I will because the people that are calling you to these locations or to the private residences especially, it's always a demon. Every single private home investigation I've ever been on. Sorry, you guys, just calling you out. You've all said it was a demon, and we've never once found a demon. I was excited. I was really looking forward to meeting him. Like maybe this time I'll get to. And no, your house isn't level, honey. Here, let me get you some WD-40. Got you. Bring the toolbox with me.
Oh, the whole demonic entity. I've got a demon in my house.
Every single one. And it's what though? It is literally their pipes are clanky. So I on my life, I literally bring a toolbox with me on every personal investigation I go on when I'm contacted. And I'll be down there screwing their pipes to to the studs and
I'm going to do some house renovations for you as well as investigate your place to show you that it is not haunted. But
yeah.
why do why are so why are people so quick to put a demonic thing onto whatever's in their house? Why do you think that is? I'd like to get your thought on this and why everything has to be demonic. It just can't be haunted. It has to be automatically demonic. And y- it just there's a demon in my house. The only demon is the one that's in your head.
Well, we'll say mental health reasons, which at that point I would advise you to speak with your general doctor and whoever, prescribes you your medicine. Maybe you should go see them. But I think that a lot of people just go straight towards demonic just because that's what's in the media. That's what the movies are about. None of the movies are about Casper the Friendly Ghost. Like, hey, let's play poker and hang out. We're friends. No, they're evil spirits and they're attacking and they're ripping us out of our beds and, you know, tormenting people, possessing them. You know, none of them are just like regular happy adventures. Like, I mean, look at Ghost Adventures. They seek out, uh, you know, angry, aggressive entities to hang out with.
Yeah, and I think this is where a lot of it comes from. And no offense to Zach Bagans and them, because like I said, they are now the pioneers of the paranormal shows. They're one of the longest running paranormal shows on air. Uh, but it's just I just when people say, well, a demonic entity, it's like, okay, for one, I don't believe in them. I just say it's a negative energy. If they were a negative person in this life, they're going to be a negative energy in the afterlife as well. It doesn't mean they're demonic. It doesn't mean that they're, because I'm pretty sure a demonic entity has something better to do than to just possess some average Joe who's sitting on his couch watching Ghost Adventures. No, not against Ghost Adventure guys. Don't start hate mailing me and saying don't rip on Zach, but Ghost Adventures is just one of those shows that really uses that word a lot.
No, like I'm gonna marry Zach Bagans one day, so I'm not talking anything bad about him or his show or anything. I promise I will. But anyways, but they aim towards a lot of activity. Whereas you very well know, like we can go to places and there is nothing there. And you're just hanging out for 12 hours. It's like, this is so boring. I just want to go home. I don't want to be here anymore.
Right.
But on the other hand, when you're going to highly active places with highly angry people, you're going to get a lot more evidence, especially when you're using provocation. I have learned the hard way. I never use provocation. I've been
Right.
scratched, I've been punched. I don't want like a round two of that. So I'm more on the happier side and let's be friends.
But let's just talk about provoking and stuff like that. I mean, I know early days of Ghost Adventures, and here we go, talk about Ghost Adventures again. But you know what? In all, that show has really taught a lot of people the do's and don'ts about the paranormal. Because even Zach has changed his stance on provoking things over the years. I don't watch the show as much as I used to. I mean, I am good friends with certain people on that show, and no, Zach Bagans ain't one of them. So I've never even met the guy, but I would I one day absolutely, because like I said, he's a pioneer in the paranormal field. He is somebody who broke ground for a lot of other people. So I mean, the same with Ghost Hunters, Jason Hawes and Grant Wilson, and all those guys. They really helped. I mean, Ghost Hunters is where basically I learned everything that I wanted, and I went out and I tried everything that I saw on TV. But it's just, provoking. I don't ever agree with it because, like I tell people, if you want activity to happen, you have to show respect. Would you just walk up to some strange guy on the streets and start yelling in his face, "You're stupid. I want to see you do something. Punch me in the face." Yeah, you're going to get punched in the face by some stranger on the street. Well, the entities don't like to be treated. You want to walk in and say, "Hey, how you doing, Mr. Smith? My name is Dale, and I would like to talk to you. Can you tell me how old you are, or w- you know, uh, is this your house?" And you're going to get a much better response than you are if you're in his face going, "Well, I believe you're bullshit. You can't do nothing. Oh, slam that door over there." That's because he's slamming the door because he wants to get away from you.
No, I 100% agree. I like specifically say the same things on my tours. The moment you are disrespectful to these people in their homes, you will be exiting their home. There's
Right.
no reason to be disrespectful to people. I don't believe in that in investigating or just out on the streets. Everybody deserves respect. We're human beings. Now, you can lose respect with me, but everybody gets respect.
Yeah, no, and I can agree more is respecting locations,
Mhm.
respecting the people that the energies that are there, because these places deserve respect. I mean, owners don't have to open them up to the public to allow us the opportunity to go in and to investigate and to hone skills or find answers, because that's what we're doing. We're all trying to find our answers into the paranormal. Now, everybody gets into the paranormal for different reasons. Some of them are personal, some are curiosity, some of them are, like you, scientific related. So we have to respect the places that do allow us in there. To If you start damaging things, taking things, disrespecting, yeah, you're not going to be welcome back at all into any location. And I would never put up with that. Um, in any place, like even if I'm on and somebody else is in, I see somebody being disrespectful. It's like, hey, can you like tone it down a bit? Like this is, yeah, you paid money to be here, but you can also get thrown out just as quick.
Now, what if the spirit is disrespectful to you first and you were polite?
I find that as going to be a very interesting evidence review, because I would find out why they're being nasty with me. But I believe that they can, just like animals, they can pick up on people who have bad intentions.
Well, the reason I say that is so when we were backstage, I told you about how my house was just burned down.
Yes,
After
I was just going to lead into that in just a few seconds, and I'm glad you
yeah,
brought it up.
just
So
because
let's
that is a really nasty entity that just showed up at my doorstep.
right. So tell us the story, because I'm like, wow, that is crazy.
It
Okay,
it is. So, obviously I have social media, and so a New York art dealer reached out to me on social media and said that they have a box that is haunted, that is terrorizing her art studio, that she no longer wants. She needs to get rid of it. Will I take it? I said, okay, sure. Like not thinking anything of it. This giant package comes and I have no idea what's in it. I let it sit actually in my basement for like 2 weeks before I actually opened it.
maybe
Um,
that's why they were upset. You left them in the basement for 2 weeks.
that's probably true. So when I opened up the packaging, the original box, then inside the first box, then it was in like a styrofoam box. And then inside the styrofoam box, then it was wrapped up in newspaper. And then under the newspaper, it was saran wrap. It was like a really, really crappy Christmas gift that I didn't want. Like there wasn't like $100 bill once I got to the center. There was no duct tape, thankfully. But once I got it out, I recognized the box immediately as the Dybbuk box. But we all know that Zach Bagans owns the Dybbuk box. This is the Dybbuk box's twin sister, like complete replica. And then behind the box, or well, underneath it, I guess, was a sad boy painting, not a print, like a copy of a picture, like an actual, like hand painted painting. And so I
Wow.
put both up in my house alongside with all the rest of the collection of atrocities that I own. And then about a month later, then my house burned down.
That is
And
crazy.
it is, it is. And the sad boy painting was not touched, and neither was the box. It was right there.
That is crazy.
The
Just
entire house was like there is nothing salvageable out of that house. It everything was smoke damaged. Everything was just torched. I have workers right now rebuilding it. That does not have one drop of smoke damage. There is not one char. Nothing happened to it.
wow. And that
The sad boy
is,
painting is gone. That got burnt up, but that has nothing. And I can show you
so
pictures of the house.
the painting got destroyed, but the
Yes,
box did not.
correct.
That that is truly insane. And I mean, I know stuff like that happens because I was 2 years ago, 3 years ago now. I went to the Warrens Paracon in Connecticut, and they brought some of the items from the Warrens Museum, and there was a doll that was there in the same scenario with you. This doll was believed to have a be possessed. It was brought into this family's house. The whole house burnt down. Nothing was salvageable, but this doll went untouched in this fire. And the family obviously gave it to the Warrens to put it into their museum after. But yeah, it's crazy how something like that actually happens, because you would think that something that is a relic that is old would burn up faster than the house.
Absolutely. You know, what's crazy though is when I unboxed it, I recognized what it was immediately. My daughter and I and her fiance actually took a video. And I was telling my daughter Roxy, and I was like, Roxy, I don't think I want to open this. And then you hear it, EVP is like, oh, in the
Oh,
back.
wow.
Yeah, so it wanted to be opened. And yeah, we did end up opening it. Do you want me to open it? I'm in a hotel
So
now,
so
so
the
it doesn't
question
matter.
is so the question is, when the house gets rebuilt, are you bringing it back in the house?
Yeah.
All right. Most people would say, no, it's going to sit in the garage or it's going down in the basement, but you're just going to bring it right back in the house. I mean, but
I've got
okay.
really
So
good insurance.
now I'm going to pose this question, because I have had this conversation with other investigators, well-known investigators, and people who own haunted locations, and some extremely haunted locations like the Hinsdale house. Now, do you think items become active because of our predetermined notions of what is already a part of it? Like, do you think a location can be, like, let's just take the Hinsdale location, for instance. Now, people already saw how many times it's been documented, how many stories there are, how many books are written about the house, and all the things. But when you go to investigate, you already have this pre-notion that it's filled with demonic entities that are out there harming you. Now, can you think that can have an effect on a location? That people can bring that type of energy to a location where it would actually be, it will do exactly what you think it will do.
I think that there's definitely a how do I want to word it? So I think that people that have their third eye open are a lot more aware of their surroundings in different locations. Now, having that pre-notion that it's haunted, demonic. I mean, like I said, I've walked into how many places and I'm just waiting for that demon to show up, and he always disappoints and it's never there. So maybe it's just me not bringing the right demons with. But I think that in locations where you do have your third eye open, you are there with the intent to look for the paranormal. The paranormal will, show itself to, hopefully, we'll say. Um, but I think you just have to be open to it. I
Right,
think that there is a supernatural phenomenon happening everywhere at any time. It's just, are you like cognitively aware and actually listening to your body and like actually seeing your surroundings? So
right,
perhaps it's not, are you, but then again, it could just be you activating that situation as well, though, as far as like residual energy. You being an open person could be activating that residual energy. I think that's like kind of one of my theories, is that is our energy that's vibrating, that's making those videos play for the residual haunts.
okay. Um, no, I can agree that what, and when I tell people, when you go into a location, yeah, absolutely be open-minded. Don't go in there with expectations, because our minds are so complex. if you really truly think of something, your mind can trick you into believing it's happening. And this is why I say have an open mind. Don't go in there expecting anything. Just go in there and just talk. And, if you want to say a name that is related to it, maybe you'll get some activity out of it. But don't go in there and automatically expecting that they're going to slam doors, they're going to drop things, they are going to bang on walls, sort of, or even run up and down the stairs. Um, an interesting thing that did happen to us at the Hinsdale house, though, um, at one point I was standing in the kitchen. And at that time, I know it's been remodeled since, but there was the living room on this side. There's the upstairs going upstairs, or the stairs going upstairs, and then there was the bathroom. Now, there was some of the people I was with, they were upstairs and they were asking questions. And it seemed like every time they asked the question, the bathroom light would flicker. So I was like, I kept asking them, like, and I would yell up to them and say, ask a question where they will, like, ask them to turn off any light in the house. And we had several lights on in the house. Obviously, we had the kitchen light on. There was a couple lamps on in the living room, and then there was bathroom. It kept shutting off the bathroom light because the most active part of the house was apparently the basement, which was just off of the bathroom. And the funny story about that is, have you ever been in the Hinsdale house?
No, but I have heard a lot about it.
So when you go into the living room and then you go towards the wall, and then if you look to your right, there's a little area. I believe they have a couch there now, but it used to be a bedroom of one of the kids. Well, when you're in the bathroom, there's a door in the bathroom, and I thought that door led into the living room. And when I was in the bathroom, I can hear the door shaking. And I was like, yeah, come on, guys, you're not funny. You're not scaring me, whatever. Just to find out that no, that's a door that leads down to the basement. Needless to say, I did not go pee in that bathroom for the rest of the night because I was not willing to see if it was going to open that door or not.
No, I totally understand. So my house that burned down, so my house was built in 1910. And it is like pretty much like square right in the middle of the American Dakota War. So there's actually we found like musket balls. We have had like arrowheads like resurface and stuff. So there was definitely a battle that happened at some point in my backyard. And so when I was in my barn one afternoon, and what I thought was my son on the outside of my barn, like talking to me. I was like, and I don't know what he was saying. It was just like mumbled, but it sounded just like him. And I was like, yeah, yeah, Jeremiah, whatever. And then he started talking some more. I'm like, Jeremiah, yeah. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh my goodness. So I walk outside the barn, walk around to where I think he's talking to me from, and he's not there. And he's like up at the front of my yard, just standing there. Or another time, I thought he was like in the backyard, like over by the field. And so I started walking towards him, and then over to my right, over by the fire pit, he was actually over there. And I'm like, he's like, hey, mom, what are you doing? I'm like, I was following you over here. And I could actually hear like branches cracking and everything in the field. And it's just like a doppelganger almost. Have you ever experienced that where you're like following somebody that you know, like through like I guess anywhere, and but then they're like way over on the other side of like the property.
I have not experienced that, but I have been at a location where I was in a different part of the location. I would come back into the room and somebody was like, I was just talking to you. How did you get back in this room
Yeah,
so fast? I was
yeah,
like, what do you mean? And they said, I swear to God, you were just standing there and I was asking you a question and I
yeah.
come walking into the room. So I have not experienced it yet, but I have heard a lot about doppelgangers and people experiencing doppelgangers. Uh, but yeah, no, it's truly interesting for sure. Somebody had a question here. Have either of you investigated any cryptids, or what is your experience? Would you do it again if you have any, or are you interested in researching? I will let you answer that question first.
I have never investigated any cryptids. Would I? I always like going hiking in the woods. So yeah, absolutely. But I would have to go with another team. That is not something that I have any solidified knowledge on to be the leader of that mission.
See, I am very into Bigfoot. I would love. I have never. I've been asked this question, and I'll tell you the story in just a second. But yes, I would love to go with somebody with a lot of experience to go into the woods to do a Bigfoot cryptid investigation. I We've had several people on the show. Vic Cundiff, I don't know if you know who that is. He has a podcast called uh, I think it's called the Dogman Experience or
Okay,
something like that.
yeah.
Very, very well knowledge. He's been on our show. Dogman, on the other hand, absolutely not. No crazy way in hell. Not even if you offered me $1 billion would I ever want to go look for Dogman. Bigfoot, on the other hand, absolutely, I would. But so, just a little story. I was on a show. A good friend of mine has a show, Banter with Richie B. He is a Bigfoot guy, so he brought me on his show, and he asked me the question, "Have I ever had a Bigfoot experience?" To my knowledge, I have never had a true Bigfoot experience. But when he asked me that question, all of a sudden a memory was brought back to me, which when me and my buddy who does the show with me, Michael John, we were in cadets together and we went on this weekend called survival camp. And I remember, and I'll never forget this, I woke up at like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. We were in our shelters. Now, this is winter survival camp, so it is extremely cold outside. I can hear something walking around our shelter outside, but breathing. Not it didn't come off as human to me. But I knew nothing about cryptids back then, so that's not where my mind went. My mind went, oh, maybe it's just one of the people in charge that's walking around making sure we're okay, everybody's still asleep, stuff like that. But the feeling that I had, and then at one point I was in my Arctic sleeping bag and I pulled it over my head and I felt a presence inside our shelter like it was staring at me. And I never had the nerve to poke my head out to see if there was anything there. That's when I just kept saying, like, just go away, just go away. And I'm just thinking this in my head. And then I went back to sleep and I woke up the next day. And I never really thought of that incident, but where we were, there has been a lot of Bigfoot sightings to this date. So I often wonder, was that a Bigfoot outside my camp that day? Was it inside my tent? I never know because I was never brave enough to look at it. But cryptid, yes, absolutely. I would go on an investigation with somebody who is way more experienced than I ever am. Would I do it alone? Absolutely not.
I traveled the country before I bought my house, or right after I bought my house, the one that burned down. And so I think we went to 32 states in 4 months and we drove it. And so I definitely believe that there are cryptids out there in our country because there is so much land that would just be inaccessible by just us on foot and especially by vehicle. So I really think that there's stuff out there that has not been found yet. And if there is a Bigfoot or Sasquatch or whatever you want to call it would not be hard for him to hide out in those hills.
And I think in Minnesota there has been a lot of Bigfoot sightings in Minnesota.
Yeah,
When you talk to a lot of these cryptid experts and stuff like that, there's some hot spots. I know Michigan is one of them. I believe Minnesota is, and Kentucky is another big one for Bigfoot and dogman sightings. But yeah, before I let you go, I'm going to let you answer this one last question. It says, do you feel it's possible paranormal activity can be influenced by psychic energy of the person experiencing it?
absolutely. I think paranormal phenomenon is all like anything that happens, it is all received by like our perception of it, whether or not it's good or bad, and then how we perceive it, and that like energy that we emit, I think can really like alter the phenomenon from there, whether it gets, I guess, more intense or kind of dissipates. That's just my 2 cents.
Here in Michigan, Bigfoot and dogman stories are around. Absolutely, especially in northern Michigan, up in the Sioux area, dogman country all the way. We hear all kinds of them. Brad and Tim, people are part of the UPPRS up there. They have actually written a book about it. So if you
Oh,
guys
up
want
at
more
the upper
information,
peninsula.
so if you want more insight about the cryptids that are up in the Sault Ste. Marie or the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, yeah, get that book. It's amazing. They're two great guys. Uh, so, Hurley, before I let you go, I want you to promote yourself. Any place you're going to be, any engagement you're going to be speaking at, any place you're going to be, and all your social handles so people can find you if they want to reach out to you.
You can find me on any social media platform at Haunting the Haunts, just like it sounds. As far as speaking events or anything, I'm actually just currently taking a break and rebuilding my burnt down house. So I'm just taking a step back from the spotlight currently. But I will be back out in the public soon enough. I think hopefully by this winter, the house should be rebuilt.
That is awesome. I thank you so much. It's been such an amazing hour. It's been a really quick hour. I'm sure we will have you back on again to talk more, to dive more into some of your experiences and talk about places you've been. Before I let you go, I have to ask you one question. I ask this of all of our guests. What is your bucket list of places you would love to investigate? Give me your top three.
My top three would be Waverly Hills. Um, the next one would be Feliska Axe Murder House, and then the island in Italy. I'm trying to blank on the name.
Oh, is that the one that's called Doll Island?
No, Doll Island in Mexico. This is the one that had like the like where all the people were sent that had the plague.
Yes, Ghost Adventures did an episode on it.
Yes, yes. I can't think of the name off the top of my head, but that would be a bucket list bucket list place.
That is awesome. Thank you once again for taking the time out of your busy schedule to be with here. I'm so glad we finally got to caught up. I look forward. We will definitely be in touch. I would love to have you back again to talk more, to get more insight, to pick your brain even more on all these topics. But everybody, I'd like to thank you on behalf of myself and Hurley for watching the TPV Nation. It's been a great hour, guys. We are going to be back again next week with Heather Bozier, who we will be talking about cryptids. She is the producer behind Small Town. The name has eluded me here. Hang on a sec. Uh, oh, of course, I lost it in my notes somewhere. Small Town Monsters. She is the producer of that show. We are going to be talking cryptids next week. So if you're into cryptids, join us next week. In the meantime and in between time, I'd like to thank everybody once again. And we are, as soon as I figure out how to get out of here. Oh, there we go. Thank you, everybody. Have a great night. Thank you, Hurley, and be safe.
Thanks.